Welcome to another episode of the Good Karma Life podcast. I am Lorena Martinez, your host, and I can't wait to share more storytelling about how to bring the sacred into our life, how to bring science, spirituality, and create magic guided by the wisdom of our soul and our unique expression of the divine. So let's jump right in. Hi there, everyone, and I hope you survive all these astrological weather. It's been. I don't think it was. I think this year is going to be just like it feels like a tidal wave, and it's just something, or like this tide that comes and then you get a little bit of rest and then it's time to start paddling again. So how are we doing after the eclipse and this full moon in Scorpio? Oof, I guess that's all I can say. And if you are a feeler like me, and if you are listening to this, you probably are, you know what I mean, right? So I hear you, I see you. It's been a journey. So I just wanted to do these little like post-eclipse and full moon Scorpio. I have a lot of Scorpio on my chart, so this moon was very intense and beautiful at the same time. I love Scorpio energy. Scorpio has a really bad reputation as being intense, and as romantic partners they have this reputation of being really hard and also very passionate, which is really good to have this deep passion for life. But as someone that has a lot of Scorpio on her chart, I love how Scorpio likes to go deep or nothing. So this episode is just like a little bit to tell you what are the energies that we kind of unwrapped with this full moon and what we'll be working with this week and maybe for another week. So this moon was really special. I mean, this moon was kind of like that beautiful bow at the end of this eclipse season, because it was like we were going on this crescendo of energies. Energies were intensifying, and to me, it felt like this full moon was the climax of that crescendo of energies. And because full moons move all the emotional body, our waters, our emotions, and so emotions are right there in the surface. But also because this full moon on Scorpio is very special. I mean, it's not only special because it comes after this big eclipse season with a total solar eclipse. And if you missed that episode, I invite you to hear that episode. Is the one before, and it's really cool because it's all about the good things about the eclipse and not the bad things that everyone was talking about and that I don't agree with. It was about how to use that energy that was unwrapped for our highest good and the highest good of humanity. And so again, this full moon feels like that climax of these energies. Scorpio is a water sign, so of course the waters, the emotions, but Scorpio has everything to do with the unconscious world. And a tarot card that really reminded me about this full moon and in general about Scorpio energy is the major arcana of the moon. If you kind of know the tarot, it's this card where the moon is out and you can see like kind of like a castle in the back, and you see water kind of right in the front of the car, and there are two dogs howling at the moon, and there is like this lobster that to me looks like Scorpio coming out of the water. And so that's Scorpio to me, and that's the Scorpio energy that this full moon was bringing. So Scorpio being all about the depth and the unconscious world. So this moon comes to bring up, to keep bringing up and keep unwrapping and unraveling and peeling those layers of the things that we need to shed to truly align with our highest timeline, our highest self, and our most genuine self ultimately. So you probably felt like this moon was a lot. You or those around you probably felt that this was a lot emotionally, and that could have just been all of a sudden. Could have been around the full moon, or could have been 3 days after. For a lot of my close relationships, it was felt the most the 3 days after, so kind of yesterday. And yeah, so if you were one of those, or if you had a close one, check where Scorpio is on your chart. Anyway, going back, why this moon felt so powerful and like such a climax is because this full moon not only was a full moon in Scorpio after eclipse season, but this moon was doing a quadrature with Pluto in Aquarius, now in the new era of Aquarius, right? So what is Pluto's energy? What is this planet? This is a big planet. This is not a small transit. This is not like Mercury, which, you know, moves in small cycles. This is a big one. And this is a planet of like big personal transformation and big metamorphosis. And it has something to do also with what is clandestine, what is unexpected. And you can also think about that as like what is unseen, what needs to be unveiled for us again to connect with this highest timeline and with the highest version of ourselves and the most genuine expression of our light. So just imagine that. Also, this moon is the first full moon in Scorpio that we experience as a humankind. Like, this is the first full moon having these characteristics in the quadrature with Pluto and the area of Aquarius. So this was a big one. We have never felt energy like this before. And of course, entering the area of Aquarius, a lot of these astrological events and movements are going to be brand new to humanity. And I think that's for the good. But anyway, going back to Scorpio and the unconscious mind is what you could have experienced is a lot of triggers, either you being triggered by others or others being triggered by you. And this is because this moon with this quadrature comes to bring is that has been hidden, that has been unseen, that either because it's unconscious or either because we consciously and purposely have been pushing it down to the shadows or to the bottom, right? So that has been repressed is coming back, not only for this lifetime, but our ancestral lineage and for past life. So that's why this moon felt so intense. But this full moon comes with a really beautiful polarity, or the other side of this is that once we see that has been repressed, that has been denied, that has been pushed to the side either by us or our ancestors, consciously or unconsciously in this life or others, this comes to help us reclaim all of our power. And that might feel, and that could have felt or might feel like it's a breaking point is like this breaking point that could show up in so many different areas of your life, but like a breaking point of like, I can not longer sustain this, or I can not longer not deal with this, or I can not longer not see this. And this full moon probably brought a lot of themes and triggers related with the things that we can no longer hold, that we can no longer hide, that we can no longer deny to ourselves, in order for us to reclaim our power back. So before that breaking point, of course, there's a lot of tension. But believe me, once we surrender to that truth, to that is right there in our face and keeps being shown to us, either by us again being triggers, those around being triggered by us, situations, common themes around work or relationships. Once we surrender to that truth that is in front of our eyes, then comes liberation. That comes a moment of and Pluto is also a lot like that. It's this energy that first has to do a destruction of what it was, but it was not working, and then it creates regeneration, like this metamorphosis. Just like the butterfly has to liquidify, literally liquidify itself as she knew herself, as she once was, this little caterpillar. She has to literally liquidify herself to then be able to regenerate and become something new, something of a higher vibration, something of brighter and more aligned with the genuine part of the creator, universe, God, goddess that is within you. So of course, all of this is not easy to feel and to walk through as a human, right? So with all these astrological like weather that we just had, and this full moon feels like closing a big chapter, and hopefully you get to do a lot of closure. So if there's any way in which we can use this full moon, is where are the parts in my life where I haven't done the closure, or where I have resisted to do that closure, or where are those parts that I no longer want to be at war and just do that closing of that cycle. And again, that could be a relationship, that could be work, that could be a habit, that could be so many different things. That could be some internal beliefs, or something as simple as just that energy that we identify, right? Like for me, I've been feeling a lot of these a heavy energy now for years, and so to me it feels like this great opportunity to close that cycle of like heavy and welcome something new. But for me to do that, I have to surrender to a lot of things that made me felt like I was carrying a lot of weight, right? And a lot of that here between you and me, you and all the people listening to these podcasts, is a lot of closure with mom, with my mother relationship, and with that mother wound that I talked about also in another episode. So if you are interested in learning about that, to go back, there's even some resources if you want to bring closure to something like that, just like me. And then another beautiful thing about this full moon, it's that as a psychologist, we use a lot of energy into sustaining the shields or the walls or sustaining this persona, holding onto these old patterns, these old dynamics, these old ways of being and identifying the self, right? We use an immense amount of psychic energy, meaning our mind energy, to sustain that ego. But once we allow Pluto and this full moon and all these eclipse energy to just take down what needs taken down, you are given the gift of recovering and reclaiming so much energy, because so much of our energy goes to hold on to these old things that we thought we were, that we thought we had to be, or that we just inherit from our ancestors. So once we let this really take down and we become observers and like researchers of what is happening around, what has been happening for the last year, what has been intensifying for the last 3 months, what is the common theme? What is that I need to let go of, to close the cycle, to not longer hold on to so hard because it's not for me? Then you are, my dear, recovering immense amount of psychic and personal energy, and that energy then can be put into what you really, really, really want, and not what you thought you wanted, right? Also, this full moon and these astrological weather was about making that desire and those dreams really come to clarity, because with so much shedding, it's almost like you start seeing more of what is that you no longer want, but then you get to see what is it that you truly want. So that's also a beautiful journaling exercise that I invite you to do, is like start writing your dreams and desires, but then start peeling them like onions, right? And like, why do I want that house, or why do I want that job, or why do I want this to happen? And start peeling that layer and that layer and that layer to just become aware really what is the core desire that is at the center of this desire, of this dream. And then when we have more clarity about what is it really that we want, it's easier to put energy towards that, and is really easier to take the steps, right? Instead of that specific job, is I want that job because it makes me feel this and this way. So many other doors can open, other jobs, maybe not the one specifically that you were thinking, can bring you that same need or desire, right? And that help us to really come to understand a little bit more what is that we are desiring in a soul level, more than in the 3D, right? And the 3D looks more like the house, the job, maybe the car, maybe a specific situation to happen. But then when we start peeling these layers, we can really see, okay, what is the more like soul based desire? What is the soul based like purpose for me to have this dream? Because behind every dream there is a purpose of the soul. And so so much to be said about this full moon. I'm still feeling this full moon like not other in a long time, and I just wanted to do this little episode because a lot of people around me has been asking me about this full moon, and this is how this full moon felt for me. It felt like a really breaking, like something had to be let go of, and it's not like longer a choice of me in this human experience. It's more like a choice of the soul. And I can either resist it, or I can either just go with it, and in that going with it, and that letting the things that need to fall, then I can reclaim so much of my power and my energy. So I hope that this was that at least it made you feel better, that it brought some light to all the feels and all the things that you were moving through since the eclipse and in this full moon. And again, here we are all in this journey, learning how to navigate this human experience, which is so beautiful, and at the same time so hard and challenging sometimes. But we are in this together. You are not alone. So keep shining your light, and I'll see you, better said, you'll hear me, and we'll have this beautiful conversation next week.